For my last birthday, my husband got me this beautiful piece to hang my hanging baskets off of, with the pretty birds setting along. Is it not beautiful? And the beautiful shepherd hook at the bottom, to hang my beautiful fairy garden that I've had, oh, I don't know, like maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe 6, I don't know, it's not new. Is it not cute? The little arch leading to a little private patio for the fairies to enjoy. Good morning to all my awesome followers. I thought I would give you an update on the fairy garden. We haven't been over here in a few days. This piece right here, my husband bought for me for my birthday a few months back, and I wanted to show you where I put it. I was always going to put it here in the fairy garden. Listen to the birds getting so excited about what's going to happen today. So anyway, I had this in another part of the yard. It didn't look good, and I moved it over here into where it should be in the fairy garden. As you can see, the fairy garden still isn't finished, but it is growing, and we are getting some of them cleaned up. And here it says Fairies This Way, that my daughter got for me, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. Is it not a cute little sign? And because it stays out in the yard, it has gotten really faded and weathered. But that's still fine with me, because you know, Grandma loves to know that her pieces are being used and she gets to enjoy them every day. I'm very happy with this. The little container here, I've had it probably about 4 or 5 years. It's not new. As you can see, it's pretty well weathered, and I probably need to get in here and redo things. And I need to buy a little fairy to put in this garden. And I'm sure I had a fairy once upon a time, but like I said, I've lost and had so many things get broken the last year or two. And on top of that, Grandma's not letting herself buy anything new. Now this over here is nothing's new in this either. See if we can get over here. I don't know. I bought the mushrooms about, let me see if I can get where there's not sun on it. Probably bought them like 3 or 4 years ago, and they have been in the house most of the time, and after I get done today, I'm going to clean it up, and it's going back in the house because I don't want it wrecked, and it's really something that should be in the house. This little fairy down here, I have a set of them, and where the other ones are, I don't know, but I've had her probably at least 5 or 6 years. She's getting pretty worn, but that's still fine because I still love her. And my son bought this for me for my birthday one year. And it says, Garden Fairies are hard at work. And each one of them had a little saying on it. And I really do love them. And like I said, I think I have at least 3 of them and my son bought me. And eventually, and it's starting to get pretty worn. You can hardly see the lettering anymore. And the little antennas have come off. But you know, Grandma doesn't just get rid of stuff because it's a little worn. She loves her fairies, and they'll always be with her as long as they're not broken. And then this, if I can get it fixed, this house is probably about 2 or 3 years old. As you can see, it's starting to look really worn. Everything's starting to fade out. But in a way, I sort of like it. These are like little mushrooms, and I'm sure they were some color at one time, but now that they're all faded out, I think personally, I think the mushrooms look more realistic now than they used to. I'm going to probably touch up some paint next year, like I keep saying. And as you can see, this mushroom still looks great, and these mushrooms look really sad. This has been out in the yard for several years, and considering everything, I think it looks pretty good. The only thing I'm going to touch up on this, I think, is the roof needs to be touched up. The coloring is not very good. And the mushrooms, I see I've got one mushroom looking great and 3 that look terrible. So we'll probably repaint them. I don't think I'm going to paint the stones. And maybe I might paint the welcome sign back in. And maybe the trim around the door. I'm trying to decide. But the stones themselves, I'm perfectly happy with the way they look, all faded. And I'm going to leave them alone. And the mushrooms, I'm not touching either. And then we got these last year from Dollar Tree. No, not Dollar Tree. Big Lots, when they had a giant sale. And I paid 60 cents for them a piece. So it's $1.20 I spent for this table scape. I've already written off the fencing. And so this was a very inexpensive fairy garden because 99% of everything except for the little gnome and the little fairy I've already had for some time. So that was $1.20, and I thought if you can get things on a big super clearance sale, go for it. That's what I always say. Well, I'm going to let you go now. I wanted to give you a little update of the fairy garden. I hope you enjoyed it. We still have a lot more work to do, a lot more fairy gardens to do. Now, I have a ton of stuff that still needs to be redone, and I don't like showing you bad things, so you're not going to get to see it. But these are what I have already updated and straightened up a little. But as you can see, it's getting bigger and better every day. We'll do another update next month, and we'll see what I can get done. I try to at least do 1 fairy garden a week, so we should have at least 4 more fairy gardens over here done the next time we do an update, or maybe sooner. But I just wanted to share with you how things look. This area is definitely going to change. This area here is usually is where the queen usually has her throne area. And I need to get in here and redo it. That's why you see those beautiful pieces behind you, the mushrooms. They aren't they beautiful? And they've been out in the yard at least 4 or 5 years. So they're not new pieces either. They're probably one of the first things I put in this area when I started redoing it about 4 or 5, well, it wouldn't be 4 years ago, probably 5 years ago almost, because we're in the 6th year now. So, you know, Grandma, she's always remodeling and updating her fairy garden. So I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, this is what my husband got me, and I want to show you what else you could do with this and what I've done. The fairy little will probably hang here, and I eventually like to get another couple of these beautiful pieces, similar but different, and put in the same area, for I can have more pieces where you can see the fairy gardens at different heights. As you see, I like seeing that. I have the little ones down here at the front and then work my way up to the bigger ones in the back. And that is my goal going to be also, to add a lot more bigger pots towards the back of that block wall, and to get a few more of these hanging ones and make some fairy gardens in them. I wanted to show you what else I could do. Let me do it real quick. Well, I took this little fairy garden and I hung it up from one of my trees. And the great thing about one of these, you can sort of get it centered better the way you want. So far, I think it's centered better than it was on my shepherd hook, and I think I'm probably going to leave it up here in the tree now, because now you can see how it was meant to be seen, as you can see. Now, I have painted this, I think, already once, and I think it needs to be repainted. It's looking pretty bad. But I think I'm going to leave most of these painting jobs until next year, and I'm going to just do a bunch of DIYs, touching up my fairy gardens, and I'll have lots to do, and I'll spend a little bit of money on paint next year and buy some new fairies and maybe 3 or 4 new accessories to make the garden pop. But I have a lot, and I have a lot of stuff in the house, so I still probably am not going to buy much next year either. I'm going to start a new project next year, and that's going to take the most of my money. So you know, every year we just think of one project we want, and we keep following through until we're happy with everything we bought. So I thought I liked it, and also, as you can see, that little limb there keeps that from moving and shifting around. That's the trouble I was having on the shepherd hook. It wasn't quite centering where I could get this picture from it. Now I can get it every single time, and it looks perfect. And I wanted to share with you, you could also hang your flowers from this same shepherd hook. Is it not beautiful? And when these flowers die or I move them to another container, I will put something else in there. So I try to at least buy 1 or 2 of these hanging baskets every year, for I eventually will have a collection hanging from all my trees. Let me get back further so you can see what I'm talking about. As you can see, my goal is to eventually have all my trees have hanging baskets hanging from them with beautiful fairy gardens and flowers. Well, that is my goal. We'll see. I got this particular hanging basket for I think $5, and normally I think, let me see what it says it costs, and I know it's a lot more expensive. And that shepherd hook is leaning a little because I think that plant is a little bit on the heavy side. Originally, it sold for $15. I wasn't going to spend that much for it, so when it finally went on sale for $5, that's when I bought it. I would have bought 3 or 4 of them, but they only had the one. And so I guess sometimes you just got to be happy with what you can find on sale and buy it. So they had one and I bought it. I would have liked to have bought 3 or 4 of them, because like I said, I'd like to see everything hanging from my trees eventually. I want to build up this into a real fairyland, and that is my goal in the next couple of years. I do have a lot of nice stuff to make my fairyland right now. It's just that it needs to be cleaned up. It's a mess. And I'm going to start using a lot more succulents that I have in the past, and they do last longer than regular plants, and they can handle not being cared for every second. They prefer to be left alone. So, needless to say, that's my favorite kind of garden. Things I don't have to work too hard doing. Well, I'm going to let you go. See you later, all my awesome friends. Don't forget, on Grandma's channel, it is designed for adults interested in gardening, home decor, cleaning, cooking, shopping hauls, DIYs, whatever else Grandma can come up with. She comes up with new things every single month almost. And that's why I watch so many different channels on YouTube, to get so many awesome new ideas. And I am going to jump all in next year on DIYs, more than I've done ever, because my fairy gardens need some love. As you can see, painting projects are the #1 thing I'm doing next year in these fairy gardens. I'm going to work my way through and do, I don't know, we'll do a painting project. I'm going to think maybe once a week next year. I think I have enough fairies that need to be repainted, houses that need to be repainted, mushrooms need to be painted. I have a lot of DIY projects coming up next year. So you can plan on a lot of painting and a lot of fixing up in the garden. Well, as you see, this house definitely needs a good paint job. See you all later in the next video, my awesome friends. Bye-bye for now.